Hello and welcome. Today we'll be looking in depth at the lessons we can learn from narratives. In this video we'll be exploring how narratives shape and challenge an individual's perspective about the world by examining two different texts. These include Shakespeare's tragedy Othello and the multimodal text The Red Tree by Sean Tan. Let's begin by investigating appearance versus reality, which is an idea that is clearly present during Othello. As we see Iago manipulate different characters, it is evident that they are being deceived or only hearing one part of the story. During Iago's soliloquy in Act 1, Scene 3, he admits his true emotions towards Othello, in which Shakespeare uses high modality. Iago says, "I hate them all." Iago remains hateful towards Othello in his personal life and private situations. However, he appears loyal to Othello in the public sphere. In the midst of Act 2, Scene 3, after the fight between Cassio and Roderigo, Iago recounts the fight to Othello, whilst not revealing his role in it. Othello's response gives us an insight relating to the lesson of appearance versus reality through Shakespeare's use of dramatic irony. Othello replies, "I know, Iago, thy honesty and love doth mince this matter." From this statement, we can see Iago's appearance from Othello's perspective as someone of honesty and love. This is strongly juxtaposed with the reality of Iago's emotions towards and intentions with Othello that were revealed in Act 1 and 2 through his two soliloquies. From Act 3, Scene 3 to the middle of Act 4, Scene 1, Iago is seen abusing Othello's trust and manipulating him, making Desdemona appear unfaithful. Othello eventually acts on his assumption or appearance of his wife towards the end of Act 4, Scene 1. Othello exclaims, "Devil," and then strikes Desdemona. She replies, "I have not deserved this." Through the continuous use of dramatic irony, we can see yet again that appearance versus reality can be very different. Therefore, through looking at these two examples from the narrative of Othello, it can be clearly seen and justified that this narrative explores the idea of appearance versus reality. This teaches us that people and situations can appear in a certain way, but can turn out to be different. The next text, a picture book by Sean Tan called The Red Tree, explores life when we feel depressed and isolated, and the idea of hope and happiness. The narrative of The Red Tree helps us to understand the world around us from a very personal perspective. The picture book conveys the various emotional stages of a young girl throughout her day. The surface idea that we can learn from this narrative is what the world can be like when we are feeling depressed and isolated. This is seen through the use of color and symbolism. On page 3, the young girl can be seen walking through what seems to be a city. Floating above her in between two buildings is a huge fish, darkly colored, its gaping mouth revealing nothing but darkness. The caption says, "Darkness overcomes you." From this example, we can see that the darkly colored fish symbolizes darkness, which communicates feelings of depression and hopelessness. On the following page, we see the young girl sitting tightly in a glass bottle. She is wearing an old-fashioned diving helmet which completely obscures her face. The sky covering her is very dark, whereas the distant horizon is filled with blue sky and bright clouds. The caption says, "Nobody understands." The glass bottle and diving helmet appear to symbolize isolation. The use of dark colors appears to be a continuation of the theme darkness. Therefore, through looking at two examples from The Red Tree, we can see that this narrative, with its symbolic approach, teaches us what the world can be like when we are feeling depressed and isolated. In relation to the world around us, the narrative of The Red Tree also helps us to understand the idea of hope and happiness. This is explored through the use of a motif. A single red leaf is hidden on each page, always appearing to be out of sight of the young girl in her troubles. The story appears to end seemingly the same as it starts. However, when the young girl is re-entering her room, a red-leaf tree sapling is on the ground in the center of it. When she is completely standing in her room on the following page, the sapling grows into a bright red-leaf tree and she is looking up at it smiling. Through interpretation, the red leaf would seem to symbolize hope and happiness. The motif of the red leaf teaches us that when the world around us becomes overcome with darkness, such as being isolated, depressed, or feeling overwhelmed, hope and happiness still exist. These feelings are just out of sight, but we always manage to find them in the end, or as the book puts it, at the end of the day. Therefore, the narrative of The Red Tree clearly helps us to understand the world through its use of a motif, which explores the idea of hope and happiness and its connection to us in the world. In conclusion, the analysis of two varying narratives can lead us to clearly see that narratives are central to understanding the world around us. From Othello and its human nature-based lessons about the world, we were able to see that it taught us about the idea of appearance versus reality. From The Red Tree and its very personal and symbolic lessons about the world, we were able to see that it taught us what the world can be like when we are feeling depressed and isolated, and it also taught us about the idea of hope and happiness. Therefore, narratives are central to understanding the world around us.